Man, does it feel good to have this series back. 105 days since my last score predictions video. 15 weeks without football. And we have Championship football back on Saturday. I think this calls for a drink personally. I've not had a drink in 2 months preferably. Since I'm doing my Road to Glory of Bristol City, I thought cider was a little bit more fitting. A little bit of news before we restart this series. We learned out of 2,213 players and staff members of all 24 Championship clubs that 8 of them have been tested positive with coronavirus. We know that Brentford have a member that's been tested positive. I think West Brom have a member tested positive. And I think Bristol City have a player that's been tested positive for coronavirus. If any of them have any dangerous symptoms, I wish them a speedy recovery as they go in isolation. Another bit of news following the vacancy role of the Birmingham City manager. We learned that Nigel Clough, the son of Brian Clough, and yes, I'm now pronouncing Clough correctly, Joshua Kane. Nigel Clough is a manager that has had experience as a Championship manager before. Obviously, he managed Burton Albion when they were in the Championship for 2 seasons. But taking over Birmingham, I don't know if he is going to necessarily take Birmingham to the next step. Birmingham fans, so let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Do you think he's the right man for the job? I'm unsure, but obviously I could be surprised, of course. Other news, Coventry and Rotherham are automatically promoted to the Championship in the 2020-2021 season. If we've got any Coventry fans or Rotherham fans watching the channel, please let me know what you think of your promotion in the comments and how excited are you for the 2020-2021 Championship season. I'll be interested to know. A little bit of news outside of the Championship a little bit. This is on a video that was released very recently. You may remember I did a video during lockdown where I did my league table if all 444 of my current score predictions came true. I honestly still have nightmares to how awful some of my predictions were. Now 17th place, now prepare to laugh at me, I've got Millwall. Barnsley are 15th place. However, one YouTube channel I think you all know, Ben HD, adopted this idea 2 months later after my release. Now this is not me calling him out saying that he's copying my idea, because actually I suggested him the idea on Twitter. If you guys ever wanted to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is always in the description down below. Since most of you have come from Ben HD, I imagine you've already watched the video, but if by some bizarre reason you haven't, I'm going to put it on the eye icon up there, so go and check it out if you've seen it. But the reason I'm putting this up is that if you notice, Ben got 3 correct predictions. But I only have got 5, so if there's anything that I am better than Ben HD in, is predicting a Championship. But let's stop the fighting talk now. I'll now explain how this series works, since some of you, and me included, may have forgotten how it works. As with this series, everything is staying the same as it is. I predict what will happen in this weekend's games in the Championship. I put the fixtures in the description down below so that you can pause the video and leave your score predictions in the comments down below. If anyone leaves a correct prediction, your comment will be included in my review video, which I normally tend to release on Monday. The one that actually gets the most correct predictions though will have their channel shout out and put on the eye icon up there. And if you get a score prediction correct, you're automatically added into the Lexus Hall of Fame. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looked like when football was shut down. But there's also a new part to the video. I'm comparing FIFA's predictions. You may have seen me preparing my predictions to FIFA's predictions for the Premier League in Wednesday's video. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. You can still release some Premier League predictions, and if you get them right, your channel will be shouted out as well. If you like what you see and you want to see more content, please make sure you do give this video a like. It'll be tremendously appreciated. As you can see on the screen right now, I'm actually showing you some stats that I received on my channel for the last one, so you guys are a little bit aware of how this channel's doing. So, as you may have noticed, I have +3 subscribers for this month, which is good, but it doesn't tell you that I've also lost 2 subscribers this month. So actually, in the course of 4 months and over 12 videos, I've gained 1 subscriber. Now, I don't use stats a lot, but I'm pretty sure that needs to be addressed as soon as we can. So if you haven't done, and if you're new around here, please subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me and it would make my day. Without any further ado, let me have a final sip. Now I feel even more ready to predict the return of Championship football. We start with a West London derby, Fulham versus Brentford. Let's see what FIFA thinks will take place in this weekend. Good afternoon everyone. Today we should have better audio, and today we've got our first commentary of the Championship. We've got match day 38 of the Championship. We start off with Brentford versus Fulham, a saucy West London derby. Unfortunately, we have a poor simulated game where we've not had a shot on goal till the 41st minute from Matthias Jensen. The second half looked more or less the same. Brentford, however, did look the more threatening as Ben Rama had a tame shot straight at Rodak. And after a couple of Brentford corners, Brentford finally made their dominance count. They left it late, going ahead in the 85th minute. Patient build-up play and good positioning from Josh Da Silva, then to side Ben Rama, to Matthias Jensen and to Ollie Watkins with the assist. They were involved, and Josh Da Silva, unpressured from Fulham's poor defence, passed it into the net. Fulham were absolutely uncharacteristically poor in going forward. They had as many shots as I do on a night out on Sundays. None! Until Mitrovic had a tame header in the last minute of the game. Pretty awful game to start this off. Unfortunately, this might be a trend, but let's go back to Lex Alexis, who should have a better and more exciting prediction. Okay, so FIFA thinks Brentford are going to clutch a 1-0 away victory to really boost their chances of staying into the playoffs. But let's see what I think. I am very, very excited about this match. It is 3rd versus 4th, so I'm expecting this game to be very, very close. It'll be even closer as there are no fans, so home advantage can almost be scrapped. Fulham have won 5 of their last 6 home games with 2 clean sheets in the process as well, so they're shoring up their defensive fragility. As with Brentford, they have only won 2 away games in their last 6, and their 2 wins as well were against a really poor Hull side and also a 4-0 victory against a 10-man Bristol City. I'm expecting a very big game, and it's a must-win game for me for Fulham as they have some tough games coming up. Leeds, Nottingham Forest and West Brom, and an informed Queen's Park Rangers side all away from home. I know they may not have a disadvantage with the fans, even so the conditions of the stadium they'll be at a disadvantage. Brentford managed to win the reverse fixture in December where Brian Mbeumo made a difference. Brentford have more winnable games than Fulham do in their last 9 games, and considering the empty stadium, I think I'm going to edge this game for a 1-1 draw. I really can't put my finger on it if either side's going to have the edge. There'll be chances, I think. Of course, FIFA thinks it's going to be a 1-0 away victory to Brentford. Should be a really tight game. I'm really looking forward to it. We now have Middlesbrough going up against Swansea City. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. Next up, we have Middlesbrough versus Swansea. In the course of the 90 minutes, it was a very one-sided game, but the end result does not reflect it. Swansea were in many ways better than Middlesbrough. The first notable chance came in the 7th minute where Lewis Wink gave the ball straight to Jay Fulton, who then gave it to Jake Bidwell, who performed a perfect pass to Ryan Brewster and supplying it to Conor Gallagher. With momentum and space, he struck the ball well, but Ainsley Pears makes the save. The next big chance came in the 30th minute where Bersant Selina looked threatening on the left hand side, who gave it to Jake Bidwell. Then identical build-up play to the first chance where Ryan Brewster gave it this time to Jay Fulton, but Ainsley Pears made another quality save. Following corner, Ryan Brewster comes close, but he heads the ball over the bar. In the second half, Swansea City continued their dominance in the 55th minute, with Ryan Brewster having the best chance of the game with a lot of space. However, lacking in confidence, he didn't strike the ball well, and Pears made another great diving save. Ainsley Pears was undoubtedly the man of the match. He made another great save in the 66th minute after brilliant 1-2 play between William Brewster and Bersant Selina, with Conor Gallagher striking well and Pears makes the save. Middlesbrough, despite keeping the ball a lot, really struggled to make a threat, with their only shot on target coming in the 74th minute after Hayden Coulson pinpointed a great cross to Britt Assombalonga. The header was poor though, and was bread and butter for Freddie Woodman. Honestly, Ainsley Pears was so good that the whole squad could go for bread and butter and he would still not concede a goal. But sadly that's what happened, and the game therefore ended as a 0-0 draw. Swansea would feel that they should have won, but let's see what Lex Alexis thinks about this game. Okay, so apparently it's going to be an anticlimactic 0-0 draw with Ainsley Pears denying Swansea the win. But let's see what I think. I'm expecting Swansea City to be the favourites in this game. Having said that, both sides are in mirroring runs of form, both sides only winning once in their last 6 appearances. Middlesbrough have not won in their last 6 home games, and Swansea have not won in their last 7 away games. Finding that's the case, I'm tempted to say that this will be a draw, but with the different conditions and the elongated break, I think one side's going to step up. For me, I think I'm going to have to edge Swansea. I'm going to go with a 2-1 away victory. Just think Swansea have more options for creative and attacking players. For that alone, I'm going to go with a Swansea away victory. FIFA has gone 0-0. It'll be very, very interesting. So the next game we have is Millwall versus Derby. Going to be a very, very tight game, a competitive game. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. The next game we have is Millwall versus Derby, and finally we may have a realistic game taking place. It is a game of two halves. Derby took control in the first half, although did not look threatening until the final minutes of halftime, where Wayne Rooney had a deflected shot saved by Bielkowski. In stoppage time, Derby had another chance which started from a throw-in. The build-up play was almost identical to Rooney's first shot, and Wayne Rooney eventually had a shot, but it was well saved by Bielkowski, who palmed it casually. Millwall only had one shot on target in the 90 minutes, but being the Championship, that one shot on target was their goal. Likewise with Brentford, they kept it late. Millwall looked the better and more dangerous side in the second half. Ryan Woods terrorised through the midfield, giving the ball to Sean Williams, fed to John Daddy Bodvarsson, who spread the attack, giving it back to Williams, and Conor Mahoney releases an unstoppable shot coming in from the inside of the post and in. An unbelievable strike, where if this happens in real life, I might need to change my trousers. Millwall hang on to that 1-0 win. Derby came out poor in the second half, not having a single shot on goal. But let's see what Alexis thinks about this game. FIFA 20 is predicting Millwall to have a 1-0 home victory at the Den, but let's see what I think. It will be very bizarre watching a game of football at the Den without a crowd, because it's easily one of the more intimidating stadiums to play in, which usually give Millwall the edge, and it gives them a huge boost most of the time. Derby have won back-to-back games before lockdown took place, and they have accelerated up the table since Wayne Rooney has come in. I think Derby will be threatening and potentially have a better squad, but I just think Millwall, with the style of play and the conditions of their stadium, I think they'll have an edge. And I agree with the FIFA. I'll actually mirror FIFA 20's score and say a 1-0 home victory to Millwall, which should promote their chances in the playoffs. Should be a very close game. So the next game, we have West Brom going up against Birmingham City. An intriguing game to say the least. Birmingham without a manager, and West Brom trying to fight for promotion. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. Next game is West Brom versus Birmingham. This game over the course of 90 minutes was a very one-sided game. West Brom had their first notable chance in the 29th minute, where Howard Robson-Kanu struck well, but it was well saved by Lee Camp. West Brom made their dominance count though and got the breakthrough in stoppage time of half-time. John O'Shea delivers a throw in to Pereira, then back to O'Shea, who supports it to Livermore, who loops a very dangerous ball to Howard Robson-Kanu. Mark Roberts wins the header, but gives up the duel as quickly as Anisom Gibb did against Jake Paul. Howard Robson-Kanu, practically on his own, then managed to pass the ball into the net. That was the only eye-catching moment in this really boring game. Romain Sawyers conceded a free kick for Birmingham 25 yards from goal. Was this going to be an epic free kick to grab Birmingham a last-minute equaliser? Honestly, there's more chance of me getting married this year. Jax Bagoma takes it short to Craig Gardner, and then the shot is blocked. Another poor game, lacking in action. But let's see what Alexis thinks. So FIFA 20 is predicting West Brom to have a 1-0 home victory against Birmingham, who are still without a manager, of course. So let's see what I think. The reverse fixture was one of the games of the season for me, where Birmingham went 2-1 up. They went ahead against West Brom twice, but Charlie Austin turned the game on its head completely and scored a brace whilst coming on as a substitute in the 70th minute. He is the definition of an impact sub. That is why West Brom are up there, because they have options and they can be versatile in their style of play, which I think is why they've lost the least amount of games this season, only losing 5 games. Birmingham may have a little bit of fight, and they may put in a performance following a change of philosophy with Pep Clotet leaving the club. Birmingham have not beaten West Brom in their last 6 appearances, and I'm going to predict that's going to stretch to 7. I'm predicting West Brom to win by 2-0. I think it'll be quite comfortable. Of course, FIFA 20 has got West Brom to win 1-0. So the next game we have is Blackburn Rovers going up against Bristol City. 10th versus 7th. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. The next game is Blackburn versus Bristol City. This game had a very energetic start. Blackburn dominated in possession and got the first shot in the game 10 minutes in, with Joe Rothwell with a perfect cross meeting Adam Armstrong's head, but he headed it in the side netting. However, following that shot, Bristol City go to the other side of the pitch and score, starting from their goal kick. Corey Smith plays a big part in supplying the ball to Naki Wells, and he managed to smash the ball past Wharton. The rest of the first half was not very entertaining, with Blackburn keeping the ball for most of it. In the second half, Bristol City score again, but from kickoff. This is the second kickoff goal we see in FIFA simulation, mirroring Sheffield United's goal in last video. Andre Varman does very well, pushing to the left hand side, who pings a perfect cross for Famara Jeju to head the ball in. Apart from Adam Armstrong trying to replicate Phil Jagielka's volley he scored in the Merseyside derby, Blackburn were really toothless up front and had as much impact of what Saido Berahino has done for the past 3 years. Absolutely nothing. Let's see what Lex Alexis thinks about this game. Okay, so let me just say, I'm sorry, Saido Berahino. I was just exaggerating a point, but let's see what I can think about this game. A very important game for me, in my opinion, for the teams chasing in the playoffs. Both of these teams can enter in the playoffs if they win this game, and especially if results go their way as well. Both sides had really shaky runs of form before lockdown. Blackburn had not won in 4, including a 3-0 defeat against Derby County, for which was a poor performance, and Bristol City had not won in their last 5. I'm really not sure who to edge here. Blackburn are a good side on their day, especially at Ewood Park, but is that taken away when you have no fans? I'm not sure if it does. And they're only 2 points apart for a reason as well. So I think I'm going to stay safe. I'm going to predict a 1-1 draw between the sides. I can't call it. FIFA says a 2-0 away victory to Bristol City, which can easily happen. And it can also happen with Blackburn winning 2-0. Anything can happen in this game. I'm really excited for that one. So the next game we have is Huddersfield versus Wigan Athletic. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. Now we have Huddersfield versus Wigan. I can only apologise for the most dreary, boring performances from both of these teams. Only 2 shots happened in this game. It was so bad that I stopped watching halfway through to watch The Office. Because how could you go wrong with The Office? Things to know. First half, 50-50 possession, with Wigan only having the only shot in that half in the 34th minute, with Joe Williams squaring to Kiefer Moore, but Jonas also does well, to be fair, to put him under pressure. The second half, more of the same, but Huddersfield had their first shot from Steve Mounier. Danny Simpson does well to win it back, but Mounier under pressure takes the shot early, and it's an easy save for Dave Marshall. An eye-gouging game ending in a 0-0 draw. Let's see what Lex Alexis thinks. Man, I sounded quite angry there, didn't I? Let's see what I think though. I'm thinking it's not going to be a 0-0 draw. I'm going to put that forward. Huddersfield, for me, have been quite inconsistent in their form just before lockdown started. Their performances have been great, but they've not necessarily been gaining consistent results. As with Wigan, they were in the form of their lives before lockdown took place, and they've given themselves a fighting chance to stay up. They've won 3 out of their last 4 away games, which is already 2 games more than they've won away from home from last season, which is absolutely incredible. And Huddersfield, for me, have one of the most exciting squads, especially with the transfers that they've brought in. The reverse fixture was a 1-1 draw, but Wigan were ahead for most of the game until Carlon Grant equalised in the 70th minute. And finding how Wigan have been so good away from home recently, I'm tempted to give them something. I think this is going to actually be a 2-2 draw. I don't know why. This is either going to be a really boring game, or it's going to be a game full of action and full of goals. Of course, I'm going to predict the exact opposite of what FIFA 20 thinks. Let's see who's right. Now we have got Luton Town going up against Preston North End. 2 completely opposite sides of the table. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. Now we have Luton versus Preston, and we definitely have more engaging gameplay this time compared to what we saw in the John Smith Stadium. Luton flew through the chaps and immediately attacked Preston. They scored with their first attack in the game 40 minutes in. Glenn Rear supplied a great pass to James Collins. Ben Davies fails to close him down though, and supplies it to Harry Cornick, played onside by Patrick Bauer, who really couldn't miss. Luton take a surprise 1-0 lead, and 21 minutes in, Luton continued pressing forward. Isaiah Brown looked dangerous down the left hand side, who supplied it to Ryan Tunnicliffe, who unfortunately he did not strike it well, and he shot it tamely with Declan Rudd making an easy save. Preston were very poor. They did not have a shot on target. They didn't even have a shot on goal throughout the entire game. The team, with the worst defence in the league, conceding 72 goals in 37 games, kept a clean sheet and did not face a shot on goal. How realistic is FIFA simulation after all? Let's see what Lex Alexis thinks about the upcoming game. Interesting. So FIFA 20 think that Luton is going to beat Preston by 1-0. So let's see what I think. Honestly, that may be possible if they were able to beat Brentford at home before lockdown. This game is the one I'm really struggling with the most, and I've still not made my mind yet in terms of what score I'm going to predict. Luton have given themselves a fighting chance to stay up after winning 3 of their last 6 games, including that home win against Brentford, which was a great victory as well. The break came at a convenient time for Preston though, as they were losing 3 games in a row and were in severe danger of dropping out the top 6 entirely. Luton now have Nathan Jones back as their manager. It'll be very interesting to see how Luton approach this game with Nathan Jones returning. If they play anything similar that they did in League One, I think Luton will stay up. But if Nathan Jones sets Luton up like very similarly what he did to Stoke, I think Luton will get relegated. These are the fine margins you have to bring in the Championship. I could easily see Luton surprising Preston and winning, but I think not having their fans is going to make it a little bit more difficult for me. I'm still struggling. I'm going to have to go with a draw. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw in this game. FIFA thinks 1-0 to Luton, and that can easily happen. Very interesting game. I'm really excited for that one. So next up, we've got Queen's Park Rangers against Barnsley. Of course, a flurry of goals in the reverse fixture. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. We now have our 8th game, which is Queen's Park Rangers versus Barnsley. Let's hope this one's not a 0-0 draw. The first 20 minutes were really boring. However, Queen's Park Rangers got the first notable chance. Road to glory transfer Bright Asai Samuel put a perfect cross to Jordan Hugill, who headed it wide of the post. However, Barnsley should have scored in the other end straight away, since Connor Chaplin put a great pass to Jacob Brown, who was 1-on-1 with Kelly, but he shot it high and wide. Even Saido Berahino would have scored that. In fact, maybe not. Barnsley from that miss continued to be strong and were the better team in the end of the first half. Mike Barr had a free shot after some intricate build-up play which Kelly saved. In the second half, it was not as entertaining, but Queen's Park Rangers grew back into the game, where Asai Samuel put in a dangerous cross which was punched by Collins, and he punched it straight at Jordan Hugill, where if he was better prepared he would have scored it in an empty net. But unfortunately, it was not what we wanted. Our third 0-0 draw in this match day, and it would be very disappointing if this happened in real life. Let's see what Let's Alexis thinks. So FIFA once again loving the 0-0 draws, but let's see what I think. As I said, there were a flurry of goals in the reverse fixture, where Barnsley picked up their first win since the opening day of the season against Fulham with a 5-3 victory, Connor Chaplin managing to score a hat-trick in that game. Queen's Park Rangers were in epic form before lockdown took place. They had not lost in their last 6 games, so they were in a really strong run of form. Their defensive fragility is always going to be a key factor whether I think Queen's Park Rangers is going to win this game or not. And Barnsley, despite being 24th, they are 7 points from safety, so the gap is not that bad. And I do think they do have the squad to turn it around. I think Barnsley can win, but I think Queen's Park Rangers are going to be confident. And with a favourable running, may I ask, who knows when they can finish? I say it's going to be a 3-1 victory to Queen's Park Rangers, and I think they're going to be quite strong at the end of the season. FIFA, of course, thinks it's 0-0. Should be a good game, and not like FIFA 20's game. So that's how we've got Reading going up against Stoke. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. So now I have Reading versus Stoke. Honestly, there's no point. It's another 0-0 draw. Another painful game to watch. Almost as painful as overspending in a club. Especially if that club is Pop World. There was only one shot on target throughout the whole 90 minutes, which was to Reading, where John Swift attempted a rash pass, but it was deflected to George Puskas, but it was very well blocked, to be fair, by Bat. A total of 8 tackles took place in this game. Very boring, and I would rather binge watch The Big Bang Theory, and let me tell you, that's never going to happen. Let's see what Let's Alexis thinks. Blimey, I was angry. I won't lie, the footage was so boring, I cannot lie. In fact, I think I'm going to need another sip just thinking back at it. Let's see what I think. Unfortunately, I'm leaning to agree with FIFA. I think away from home, Stoke are going to just sit back and soak the pressure. And Reading have been a so-so team this season. They've been a little bit inconsistent at times. And I just have a suspicion that the result in the upcoming weekend is going to match the same result in their last 2 meetings against each other, which is a 0-0 draw. So I'm actually going to agree with FIFA for the second time and say a 0-0 draw. I cannot believe I'm actually agreed to FIFA. We've got 3 games left. Sheffield Wednesday versus Nottingham Forest. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks about this game. We now have Sheffield Wednesday versus Nottingham Forest, and I will give you a shout out if you can guess what scoreline this game finished in. Nottingham Forest were the better team in the first half, The first notable chance came in the 32nd minute after some great play between Thiago Silva and Lewis Grabban, but Lewis Grabban poorly shot wide, not reflecting his current goal scoring form. In the second half, Sheffield Wednesday grew into the game. In the 56th minute, Jacob Murphy pushed forward in the right. Joe Worrell headed it away, but Massimo Luongo struck it well, but Samba collected it. Just give it to Pelpresi, he would have scored that, yeah. And I'm the next best commentator after Gary Neville. These rotten jerks have to be filled in because a lot of these simulated games are just dead and filled with little engaging chances and both teams lacking in quality and giving the ball away. To know what I'm watching, look at Kadeem Harris's awful touch in the 67th minute. This blew a great opportunity for the Owls. Is this a representative of real life? Most likely no. FIFA 21, this is my message. Fix this and make championship teams more in quality. There's no points shown anymore, it's a 0-0 draw again. Anyone who guessed FIFA's result right will get a shout out in my review video on Monday, that's a promise. Let's go back to Alexis before I have a fit. What else can I say? A genuine question, do you want FIFA gameplay? If you do, I'll consider changing the opponents to 85 rating, even though that might be quite unfair. But let's see what I think will happen in this game. Both teams for me have struggled with form. Between each other, they've only have 2 wins in 12 games. But Sheffield Wednesday, they've just been in free fall, which came as a surprise with how promising they looked at the beginning of Gary Monk coming in. As with Nottingham Forest, similarly disastrous form before the break came, and I do remember with their last game being a very embarrassing 3-0 home defeat to Millwall. However, I think Nottingham Forest are much better away from home. Despite the changes, I think Nottingham Forest will approach the games as they do at every away game, exactly the same. Nottingham Forest will have complete nightmares of the last meeting they played against Sheffield Wednesday because they lost 4-0 at home, their heaviest defeat under Sabri Lamucci. But I think Nottingham Forest, with their quality and fighting for the playoffs, they'll get revenge and pounce over Sheffield Wednesday's freefall and win by 1-0. I'm predicting a 1-0 away victory for Nottingham Forest. FIFA 20 thinks it's 0-0. Hopefully, should be a cracker. So our penultimate game, Hull versus Charlton, a relegation 6-pointer. Let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. Our penultimate game this weekend is Hull versus Charlton, and I'm pleased to inform you we don't have any more simulated 0-0 draws. 5 0-0 draws out of 12 games was enough for FIFA 20 apparently. The goal scored was a great one too, and it was from the away side. 9 minutes in, Lyle Taylor, who is in doubt who will play for Charlton ever again, does a cheeky back heel to Aaron Odzuma, I think that's how you say his name. He quickly plays it to Macaulay Bond, scoring an absolute screamer. No chance for George Long in goal, and we finally have a goal to commentate on. Charlton could have scored a second goal where Joshua Cullen shot an outrageous strike, but George Long made an unbelievable save to keep the scoreline down. Hull in the first and second half were very poor. Not a shot took place, but the goal was good while it lasted, and Charlton in the relegation 6-pointer get the maximum 3 points, boosting their survival hopes. Let's see what Alexis thinks. FIFA 20 thinks Charlton's going to edge it, so let's see what I think. Both teams were in problems before the break came in. Hull had to cope losing 2 of their best players and with their whole back line injured, and Charlton were in just disastrous run of form, and Lyle Taylor is now not going to play for Charlton anymore, which is such a shame. Charlton fans, what do you think following the situation with Lyle Taylor? I really do feel sorry for Charlton. I think Hull may recover having some of the players back, but I think Charlton have a point to prove and they will be determined to get out of relegation zone. I'm actually favouring Charlton for this game. I think a 2-0 away victory for Charlton. FIFA thinks it's 1-0 to Charlton. Let me know what you think. So finally, we made it to the final game, Cardiff versus Leeds United. And for the final time, let's see what FIFA 20 thinks. And finally, the final game this weekend is Sunday's game, Cardiff versus Leeds United, a very key game in the promotion race. We actually have some engaging action. 90 minutes in, one team made the breakthrough, and it was the home team, and they need to thank Robert Glatzel, who was carrying the ball at the right. He squared a perfect pass to Albert Adoma, completely unmarked, and he scored against Leeds. This is his second goal against Leeds this season, and it's also the second different club he has scored against Leeds in this season as well. Leeds were the better side in possession, but really lacked chances. In the 90 minutes, Leeds only had one shot on target, which was in the 64th minute. Mateus Klick did well in midfield and put a perfect pass to Augustin, but he took his shot too soon and it was a comfortable save from Smithies. Cardiff had their second shot on target in the 86th minute and they scored. There were many goals to pick from for my goal of the weekend of FIFA simulation, but let's introduce Joe Bennett. He ruins Luke Ayling's career and he shrugs off Pablo Hernandez and perfectly executes a goal, beating Kiko Casilla at his near post. A brilliant solo goal by Joe Bennett. By the way, Keiko Casilla should be still serving his ban following his comment towards Jonathan Lecco. An unbelievable performance by Cardiff and despair for Leeds. And Leeds United are falling apart again according to FIFA 20. And for the final time, let's see what Lex Alexis thinks. So a big statement from FIFA 20. They think Cardiff are going to win 2-0 against Leeds United following their epic run of form. Let's see what I think. Leeds were in their best form before the break came in, and now will need to try and pick themselves up from this elongated break, especially as they're in a race for promotion and need to try and break away from the chasing pack in the playoffs. As for Cardiff, they can sneak into the playoffs, so they do have something to play for. What's even more encouraging for Cardiff fans, they have a very strong record against Leeds, winning 3 out of their last 6 meetings. So I am really tempted to edge Cardiff with the win, but I'm not sure I'm brave enough to give Cardiff the edge following how good and how strong Leeds United have been. I think this is going to be a 1-1 draw between the two sides. I just cannot separate them. FIFA 20 thinks it will be a 2-0 Cardiff win. Should be a very entertaining game. But there you have it. There's my score predictions for the return of the Championship. Came in at 105 days too late, but anyhow, that's how we've got to live our life. The table on the left is what the Championship table would look like if all my predictions came true. And now on the table on the left is what the table would look like if all of FIFA's predictions came through. Look at the difference, especially in the top 6 and in the relegation zone. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure you do give this video a like. It'll be tremendously appreciated. Please subscribe if you haven't done, and if you're new around here, all of that really make my day. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the channel, and it'll be very much appreciative if you did subscribe. And if you can, please share the channel as often as you can. All that would really make my day. I'm really trying not to slur my words here. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, football's coming home, finally. Take care, guys.